Number 1, the 6th floor. I was on the road for a corporate training gig, just a 3-day stint in a mid-sized city I won't name, at a hotel I wish I could forget. It was one of those chain places, modern enough, clean, quiet, efficient in that business traveler sort of way. Free Wi-Fi, lobby coffee at all hours, a pool no one uses. When I checked in, the woman at the front desk gave me an odd look when she handed me my keycard. "You're on the 6th floor," she said. "Elevators around the corner." The way she said 6th floor, I should have noticed it, but I was tired. I nodded, took the key, and went up. The elevator was silent as it climbed. No music, no announcements, just a low mechanical hum like it was dragging something behind it. Floor 6. The doors opened to a hallway that felt wrong. Dim lights, heavy air, still, too still, like the whole floor had been paused. Room 623. That was mine. The hallway carpet muffled my footsteps. Door after door, identical. I reached mine, tapped the card, and stepped inside. The room was fine, generic. Bed, desk, lamp, TV. Neutral art on the walls. The kind of place you forget 2 hours after leaving. But it felt like the room hadn't been used in a long time. Like I'd walked into someone else's silence. I unpacked, ate a sandwich, called my partner, watched half an episode of something on my laptop. By midnight, I was drifting off, the AC humming in the background. At 3:06 a.m., I woke up, wide awake. My heart was pounding, and I didn't know why. The AC had stopped. The room was silent, completely silent. And then I heard it. A knock, not at the door, at the closet. 3 soft knocks. I sat up, barely breathing. Another knock. I reached for the lamp. It didn't turn on. I clicked it again. Nothing. The closet door creaked open. Just a few inches. I stared, frozen. The space behind the door was pitch black. I couldn't see anything, but I felt something watching me. My chest was tight. My hands were shaking. I didn't get up. I didn't move. I just stared at the gap in that door until morning. When I woke again, it was light outside. The closet was shut. The lamp worked. The AC was back on. I almost convinced myself I dreamed the whole thing, until I opened the door to the hallway and saw the wet footprints. Bare feet, coming from under my door, but facing toward it, like someone had been standing there all night watching me. Later that day, I asked the guy at the front desk if anyone else was on the 6th floor. He looked at me and said, "The 6th floor's closed for maintenance. You're the only one up there." I told him my room number, 623. He typed something on the computer, then stopped. "We don't have a room 623, he said. "We never built that room." I left the next morning. Didn't ask questions. Didn't ask for a refund. The elevator didn't even stop at 6 when I left. The button didn't light up. I don't know what floor I was really on. I don't know what I saw, or what opened that closet. But if you ever check into a hotel, and they give you a key for room 623 on the 6th floor, don't go. And if you wake up at 3:06 a.m., whatever you do, don't open the closet. Number 2. It was close to midnight when I arrived at the hotel. The road leading to it was narrow and empty, lined with tall black trees that seemed to close in the farther I drove. The rain had stopped hours ago, but the ground still shone with a dull wet sheen that caught the headlights in silver flashes. The building appeared out of the dark like a ghost itself. For stories high, pale walls, rows of windows like blank faces looking down at me. Only one light was on, high up near the top floor. I remember thinking it looked like an open eye that refused to sleep. Inside, the lobby was quiet, too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your own footsteps sound too loud. A single desk lamp cast a weak yellow glow over the reception counter. Behind it sat a woman in an old-fashioned uniform. Her hair was neat, her smile tired. "Good evening," she said, in a voice that barely reached above a whisper. I told her my name and that I had a reservation. She nodded slowly, checked the book in front of her, and then handed me an old brass key. "Room 407, she said. "The elevator is just down the hall." The key was cold in my hand, heavier than I expected. When I turned to walk away, I thought I heard her say something else, but the words were too soft to catch. The elevator doors opened with a sigh that echoed in the hall. Inside, the air smelled faintly of dust and something sweet, like old flowers. A mirror covered the back wall, its surface warped and cloudy. My reflection shimmered like water. I pressed the button for the 4th floor. The light above it flickered once, then stayed on. The elevator began to move, slow and uneven, as though climbing against something heavy. When the doors slid open, the hallway stretched before me, long and dim. The carpet was dark red, worn in the middle where countless feet must have walked long ago. The wallpaper peeled slightly at the edges. Somewhere far away, I could hear the faint hum of a television through a wall. Room 407 was at the very end. The brass numbers on the door were dull and crooked. I slid the key into the lock. The click was louder than it should have been. The room was tidy, neat, almost too neat. The bed was perfectly made, the curtains drawn tight, the lamps positioned evenly on each side of the room. It felt like stepping into a photograph, something that looked real but wasn't alive. I placed my bag on the chair, turned on the bedside lamp, and sat down. The light was soft, golden, almost comforting. I began to relax. Then I heard it. Footsteps, slow, uneven, just outside the door. At first I thought it was another guest, maybe someone coming in late. But the steps stopped right outside my room. I waited. Nothing. No knock. No voices. Just silence. I stood, walked to the door, and looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty, still and dim. The only sound was the faint buzz of the ceiling light far down the corridor. When I turned back into the room, I noticed something strange. The clock on the bedside table had stopped. The hands were frozen at 11:47. I tried to shake it off. Old hotels are full of odd noises. I told myself that. I changed into my clothes for bed, turned off the lamp, and lay down. For a while, everything was quiet. Then came another sound, a creak, soft but close. It came from the corner of the room, near the wardrobe. I opened my eyes. The door of the wardrobe was slightly ajar. I was sure I had closed it earlier. A thin line of darkness showed between the doors. I stared at it for a long time, waiting for it to move. Finally, I got up. My bare feet touched the cold floor. The air felt different now, heavier, as if the room was holding its breath. I reached for the wardrobe handle and pulled the door open. Nothing, just my coat hanging inside, still and ordinary. I exhaled, half laughing at myself. But as I turned back toward the bed, I heard it. Breathing, not mine, slow, deep. Behind me, I froze. The light from the lamp caught the mirror on the wall. In the reflection, just for a moment, I saw a shape standing beside me. Tall, pale, still. Then it was gone. The air rushed back into my lungs. My heart hammered so loud I could hear it. I turned on every light in the room. I checked under the bed, behind the curtains, inside the bathroom. Nothing. Only the quiet hum of the air vent and the ticking of the clock that had somehow started again. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the chair with the light on, staring at the door, waiting for morning. When the first gray light came through the curtains, I gathered my things and went downstairs. The same woman was at the desk. She looked up as I approached. "Did you sleep well?" she asked. I hesitated, then said quietly, "Not really." Her eyes flickered for a moment. She seemed to choose her words carefully. "Room 407, she said softly. "You are the first guest we have had there in years." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She looked at the counter instead of at me. "There was a fire on the 4th floor, she said finally. "A long time ago. Only one guest was staying in that room when it happened." I asked her what had happened to him. She didn't answer. When I turned to leave, I thought I heard footsteps again, faint and slow, moving down the hallway behind me. I didn't look back. And even now, when I think about that night, I can still hear the sound of that breathing. Just behind me, waiting. Number 3. I arrived at the hotel just before the storm began. The sky was a low gray sheet, heavy and silent, and the wind had that feeling that comes before thunder. A pause, a breath, like the world holding still. The building was old, a square block of stone and iron that leaned against the mountainside. Its windows were tall and narrow, framed by cracked shutters. The sign above the door swung slowly in the wind, the paint peeling from its edges. Inside, the lobby was dim and filled with the faint smell of rain and dust. The wallpaper had once been red, now faded to brown. A single chandelier hung above, half its bulbs dead. A man stood behind the counter, thin, pale. He wore a dark suit that looked too small for him. His eyes didn't quite meet mine when he handed me the key. "Room 312, he said. "End of the hall. Be careful with the lights, the power flickers when the weather's bad." The key was old brass, heavy and cold. Attached to it was a faded leather tag with my room number written in pen. The elevator was out of order, so I took the stairs. The steps creaked under my weight, each one echoing up the stairwell like a heartbeat. The halls smelled faintly of damp wood and something else, something like smoke. When I reached the third floor, the lights along the ceiling buzzed softly. Most of the doors were closed, their numbers crooked, the metal tarnished. At the very end stood my door, room 312. Inside, the air felt colder than the hallway. The room was small, a bed, a desk, a single chair by the window. The curtains were drawn tight, but I could hear the wind pressing against the glass. The first thing I noticed was the mirror. It hung on the wall opposite the bed, tall, framed in black wood carved with strange little symbols. The glass was dark, almost smoky, and the reflection seemed a shade slower than it should be, like it hesitated for a moment before following my movements. I told myself it was just old glass, warped by time. I set my bag down and tried to settle in. Outside, the storm began to build. The thunder rolled low and far away. The light flickered once, then steadied. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard something. Not loud, just a soft scraping, like fabric brushing the floor. At first, I thought it was the curtains moving in the wind. But when I looked, the curtains were still. The sound came again, this time closer. I turned on the bedside lamp. The room was empty. The clock on the wall ticked faintly. The mirror reflected the whole room. Bed, chair, desk, window. And then, for the smallest moment, I saw it. A shape behind me. It was only a blur, gone the instant I turned around. The air behind me was cold, colder than before. I could see my breath hanging in the light. I walked to the mirror and touched the glass. It was warm. I didn't sleep after that. I sat in the chair by the window, watching the rain slide down the glass, listening to the storm outside and the faint hum of the lights above me. Around 3 in the morning, the power flickered again. The lamp dimmed, then went dark. In the dark, I heard whispering. Not words, not at first, just the sound of someone breathing near my ear. Then a voice, faint and broken, like static on an old radio. "Do you see me?" I turned on my phone's flashlight and shone it toward the mirror. The glass shimmered. My reflection stared back, pale and tired. But behind it, in the reflection's corner, stood someone else. A woman. Her face was blurred, her hair dripping wet as though she had come in from the rain. She was standing exactly where the chair should have been. I turned the light toward the chair. Empty. When I looked back at the mirror, she was closer. I stumbled back, the flashlight shaking in my hand. The glass seemed to pulse for a moment, the frame trembling against the wall. Then the light went out completely. The whispering stopped. The room was silent except for the sound of rain. When the sun came up, the mirror was cracked from corner to corner. My reflection split in two. I went downstairs to the front desk. The same man was there, standing exactly where he had been the night before. His eyes flicked toward me, then to the key in my hand. "You're in 312, he said softly. I nodded. He hesitated, then said, "We usually keep that room closed." The last guest who stayed there left in the middle of the night. Said she saw someone in the mirror. He smiled, but it wasn't the kind of smile people give when they mean it. Outside, the rain had stopped, but the air still felt heavy, full of something unsaid. I got in my car and drove away. In the rearview mirror, for just a second, I thought I saw someone sitting in the back seat. Only a blur, a shape, and then nothing. But when I glanced at my phone later, the screen was covered in a thin film of fog, as if someone had breathed across it.